Hi, dear students. Today we are going to discuss the chapter The Road Not Taken is a poem written by Robert Frost. This poem is talking about the choosing of right decisions in our life. The poet brings out the importance of making a right choice. The correct choice can make one's future. The wrong one can defeat them. A choice once made can hardly be reversed later. Once the poet had to choose between two roads. He chose the one that was less traveled by, and that, he says, he made all the difference. And in his life, he became a poet. Robert Frost was an American poet, was born in 1874. He was known for his realistic depiction of rural life. Frost is the only poet to receive 4 Pulitzer Prize for poetry. And on July 22 in 1961, he was named Poet Laureate of Vermont. The poem was published in 1916. The poem is in 4 stanzas of 5 lines with a rhymed scheme of AB, AAB. In this poem, the road symbolizes our life. The poet tells about the path we don't choose in our life. It celebrates individualism. Let's go through the stanza-wise explanation of this poem. The road not taken. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down, one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Here, the poet Robert Frost tells us. The poet says that in a jungle there were 2 roads. Both roads go in different directions. As the poet has used the term yellow wood, it seems that the leaves have turned lifeless and yellow, depicting the autumn season. The poet feels sorry because he alone cannot travel the both roads. So, the roads could symbolize the 2 choices in life, and the poet is finding it difficult to make a choice. So, he is a single traveler. Being a single traveler, he stood there for a long time, determining which way to continue his traveling. As he was thinking, he noticed that one of the road it bends in the trees and shrubs, and finally it got disappeared. So here in first stanza, the poet tells the poet was walking down the road and then there was a diversion. There were 2 roads, that 2 different paths. Poet says that he could travel on one road only. He stood there looking at the roads in a quite confused manner, in a dilemma, which one to choose. Before taking a road, he wanted to make sure that it was suitable for him or not. Stanza number 2. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wandered where, though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. After seeing that one of the road disappeared into a undergrowth, the poet decides to take the other road. As just as fair. Here, as just as fair, it can have multiple meanings. Perhaps the poet wants to say that the road is beautiful as well, or the poet wants to be fair and choose the correct options. Hence, selecting between 2 roads may portrays the selection between 2 destinies. The poet then describes that maybe this road is better because it has fresh grass grown on it and was not used much. But when he started traveling on it, he found that the travelers have passed through this road just as much as the other. We can observe how the poet quickly goes back to this statement. First, he says, "This road is untraveled." Then, as he walks, find it equally traveled. Also, the poet says that the path wanted where. A path cannot have a desire or want to wear. Only humans have wants. Thus, the poetic device personification is used here. In personification, a thing or an idea is giving human quality to a thing or an idea, it's giving human quality, it is called personification. So here the path wanted where, that is the personification used here. So, while summarizing in stanza number 2, the poet kept on looking at one path for a long time to check if it is the right path. Then he desired and started walking on the other path because he felt both the paths were equally good. He felt that the path is better for him because the path had grass in them, which means it was unused. After walking on the path for some distance, he realized both of the paths had been worn out the same way. Stanza number 3. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. The poet says that both the roads were covered with leaves that morning, and perhaps that morning he was the first to travel on that road, as the leaves fallen on the roads had not turned black by the steps of other travelers. However, it seems that he desired slightly wondering if he will ever get to come back and take the other road. In this stanza, the poet says that both the paths were similar that morning, both had leaves on them, and no one had stepped on them as they were still green in color. He desired that day he would take one path for and keep the other for another day. Although he knew that one way leads on to another way, he knew that he could not go back on the choice that he had made. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Some were ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the differences. Years from now, somewhere in the future, the poet feels that he will look back and then decide whether the choice he made was the correct one or not. This may be indicating that making a choice out of two objectives is responsible for our future, and that makes all the difference in our life. The choice may bring us right or wrong. He will be telling about his choice with a sigh. Sigh is releasing a deep breath expressing happiness, relief, or sadness, etc. So, if the choice proved out to be right, it will be a sigh of happiness. The poet says in future with a sigh, he will say once upon a time he had reached such a point in life that there were two options for him, and he chose to travel on a road which had been traveled upon a lesser number of people, and that made all the differences in his life.